Thank you for watching this video. We have completed many C2F cases, and over the years we have kind of modified the way we do it, the process. The parts stay the same for the most part. They stay the same, but I'm going to show some new tools today. And if you're involved in Chrome, I would definitely consider using the C2F protocol. It's small hole technology is what we call it. Just look at how lovely this occlusion is. There's no big areas of goop. You only have one pickup in the mouth. You pick the second one up extraorally back in the lab, and you have a stronger prosthesis that looks better with better occlusion. So yesterday we did a case locally with a couple of doctors, oral surgeon and prosthodontist, and I always go there and do the conversions, and I always do it C2F, and I always try to find a little bit better way to do it. I'm going to share some of the tips from this surgery, from this conversion. Now, the first step is to just seat the prosthesis in the model, and if it's hung up, it's normally the C2F analog that's hung up on a site or two. And this is just a matter of the doctor rotating the implant a little bit more in one direction than another, so the analog is not perfectly in the middle of the hole. That's okay. Just make a little adjustment. You can see here's the adjustment. Just a minor adjustment so that the analog is not touching the model. And then after that, you'll be seated. Okay, now we're ready to add temp cylinders. Now we developed this a while ago, many months ago. This is the C2F countersinker. This tip here is the same size as the drill. So after you drill your hole through, then you can follow through with this lead, this countersinking lead, and then this is a little bit larger than a temp cylinder, and this will bore the hole in the perfect trajectory so your temp cylinder will seat. It's very handy and very fast. In fact, I used it just the last couple surgeries, and I'm just so happy with this thing, because otherwise you're in there with a round burr, a BB burr, a sharp burr, all kinds of burrs trying to figure out which direction you need to adjust the hole. So this is just drop it in and move on to the next one. And be careful, because this is hole boring. You could go right through the occlusion, so you have to be careful with what you do, but it worked really well. So after I had the temp cylinders all fitted and seated, and I used this on 3 sites, very quick. Added all the C2F heads, MUA heads, back into the model. Okay, tighten them down, and here, of course, make sure that these are tightened all the way down, because when you unscrew a prosthetic screw, often the C2F head comes right out with it, and you'll miss it. You'll miss this little bit of a gap in here. So that's a big gap, but if there's a little gap, then you're off. You're not going to seat. So make sure they're all down. Okay. There we go, all down. Okay, then I'm just going to go backwards a little bit. This is fitting a temp cylinder. So the temp cylinder is holding up the prosthesis. I'm going to use this bore cutting C2F drill. See how you drop it in? And I didn't take a video, but you just push it in maybe 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, and keep testing it until your prosthesis drops. Right, so here we are up, and then here we're down. It was very simple. All right, so that's a little modification of the process. These bore cutters, this C2F countersinker, if you will, is it's available. I mean, you can place an order, and we're going to order some of these and have them available on the website soon. If you want to order one, just contact us. We'll put it on back order for you. Okay, here's another little tip. If you've had to spend time boring any of the holes, or even trimming down some of the temp cylinders, and they have to come off, because in this new tip that we're going to show you, these have to come off. And when you take them off, put them in order of where they fit on the case. Don't randomly set them out here, because then you have a long, a short, and then you have to readjust the prosthesis. So just set them in the right configuration. Then, this is another tip, instead of using short screws, the normal prosthetic screws, use long open tray screws. I think even the handles on the MUAs will work. But this will allow you to block out these temp cylinders perfectly. So you'll never get any material around the hole, down in the hole. It blocks them out. It's something that Joe Ambrose here at the lab discovered some time ago. And I'll tell you, it wasn't that easy to do, because you have to place all the temp cylinders on the C2F models without screws. And then you have to set the prosthesis down on top of them without them falling off. Okay. Then you'll screw one long screw at a time down in each one until they're tight. And then you have to make a visual here. You have to make a visual to make sure that each one of those temp cylinders are down on the C2F head. Okay, so, at this point, if you've not done C2F before, this is going to seem a little bit foreign. I would definitely go back and watch the videos on the whole C2F process. Okay, but if you're a C2F user, then you'll know what we're talking about here. All right, so once they're down, then you're going to inject. And when you inject from the lingual port, use the regular tip. I have another tip that we're going to use here in just a minute, but inject. And I didn't do it on this case. I should have. I tie some heavy rubber bands right across the teeth where there's no holes and wrap it around the model and hold it down. Because this can be a little tricky to hold this down with your hands and make sure that it's perfectly held down. But one nice thing about using these long screws is that you can hold the prosthesis down as opposed to holding down the blockout rods. Okay, so that way you can put apical pressure on the model, on the prosthesis while you're injecting, which is really nice to make sure that it's sealed. Okay, and then here we are. That's been injected. Small holes, all injected, looks good. All right, but then I flip it over and I realize that, look what happened. One of the long screws was not in here properly. I got material around it, and that's just not going to work. So I quickly just took some forceps and I twisted this temp cylinder out, removed it, reamed out the hole, put it back on the model. This time I did it with the long screw, and I just sleeved the prosthesis down around it, and then I repicked it up. And that was 5 minutes, but that was that I should have caught that before it happened. All right, and this, if you're looking carefully, the prosthesis is not screwed down yet. 1, 2, 3, it's not down yet. I'm just showing you how I sleeved it over with the long screw on. Now they're all down, and then a little trick here. We opened up the facial of the C2F model. Why? Because now you have facial access, and you can use one of these little composite tips, and you can drop it right down in the hole. And look, it's blocked out. Right, so you won't get material flowing down here and blocking the hole. Glaze it. Make it look nice. Beautiful occlusion. Terrible photography. But nice occlusion. And then, again, bad photography. But doctor did not have to adjust. Sent the patient home. All right, so C2F update.